I'm Nuala McGovern, and on today's World Have Your Say, you want to talk about the Euro 2012 football tournament. It'll kick off in Warsaw in just an hour from now. But there are fears the tournament will be marred by racism, and it's emerged some Dutch players had to endure racist chanting during a training session this week. So how should the footballing world respond? Wherever you're watching, we're live, and you're very welcome to take part. In less than an hour, the Euro 2012 football tournament will kick off in Warsaw, Poland. Excitement is building for some, but for others, they're going as far as to boycott the championship due to racism. To begin with, let's talk about the row over Dutch players this week. And so now, joining us now, Alex got in touch. Now let me share with you what he said. He tweeted, "It's disgusting that black Dutch players have been subjected to racist abuse whilst training tonight. UEFA needs to act now." And he's using the hashtag Euro 2012, which many of you are. You can also use the hashtag WHYS. With us now is Henk Spaan. He is a football writer and editor joining us from the Netherlands. You're very welcome to the programme, Henk Spaan.
Hello.
Now, we've just been hearing from Alex, who was tweeting. He was saying that it's disgusting what has happened to the Dutch players this week. What would your response be?
Well, we are actually waiting for the first match to start tomorrow. And in Holland, this wasn't a very big deal. I know about the Panorama documentary and the reactions of families of black players in England, but since the staff moved the players to the other side of the pitch when it happened yesterday, there were 25,000 people cheering the Dutch team. There were not so many people with racism there. So it wasn't really a big deal. Well, some people said that UEFA, Platini has warned that players who will be leaving the pitch after being insulted for their in racism, they will get a yellow card. And there were some people here who said, well, UEFA should have warned the audiences there that UEFA would be, severe in their reaction to this kind of thing and not warning the players.
Well, Henk Spaan, you bring up an awful lot of points, and of course this story has been continuing over the past few weeks. An awful lot of people have come out and have added their thoughts, be it Sol Campbell, the former English captain, or be it Mario Balotelli, the Manchester City striker. Now, we have Marek who's joining us. He's an Anglo-Pole. He's living in Warsaw, and he joins us on Skype. Marek, you're very welcome to the programme. Do you think it's racism in Euro 2012 is a big deal? Our guest, Henk Spaan, was saying he didn't think so.
I think it should be considered a big deal. If racist abuse does occur on the stands, I think the appropriate bodies like UEFA or the governments of the respective countries should take action. Whether this isolated incident should be how we should treat this incident of the black Dutch players is different. The Dutch FA didn't actually make a complaint to UEFA, and no complaint of any kind has been made, so it's quite difficult to deal with if official bodies don't treat it seriously.
Were you surprised that the Dutch FA did not make a complaint?
Yes, well, I was surprised that they didn't. However, I think I get their reasoning that the Euro hasn't actually started, and we're trying to give the country the benefit of the doubt before making an issue out of it. I think that's quite commendable, actually.
Now, some of you are seeing scenes on your television of Nazi salutes happening in football stadiums, and that is from a BBC Panorama documentary that was called Stadiums of Hate. It documented racism, anti-Semitism and homophobia in some of the league matches that were happening in Poland and Ukraine, which led to charges of racism being levelled at the two countries, which are, of course, the host countries. But this week, the Dutch team said they endured racist chanting during one of their training sessions there. Now, let's meet Carl. Carl is British and is working in Poland. Carl, you're very welcome to the programme.
Hi there, I'm actually working in London, but...
Oh, you're working in London, excuse me, no problem. But you have been in Poland?
Yes, I've been to Poland to watch a football game before. This was back in 2004 now, so there was an element of right-wing extremism there, but we actually travelled with a friend of Sri Lankan descent, and we didn't really encounter any problems with kind of him being at the game or anything like that, so it wasn't anything negative in my opinion.
Well, Marek, would you like to speak with Carl? Do you think that what he experienced is what most people experience when they go to Poland?
Definitely, definitely. I think in normal life, outside of football grounds, racism is extremely rare. And within the grounds themselves, racism does occur, but as Carl says, it definitely isn't universal. It's a tiny minority of both the population and the football fans who actually partake in racial abuse.
Well, the BBC Panorama documentary that I mentioned, it was very striking. A lot of people were very angry after they saw it, particularly Sol Campbell. He advised non-white fans to not travel to Ukraine or Poland, to boycott them, to stay at home, to watch it on TV. Some people are going a step further and not even watching it on television. But let me go back to Henk Spaan. Do you think UEFA was correct in awarding the tournament to Ukraine and Poland?
Looking back on the way the former president or prime minister was treated, I would say no. There is, I think, much more political upheaval about that than about the racism that is expected or not. So it could be said now that that was probably a slight mistake.
Well, I know a lot of you are getting in touch. The number is on your screens there right now. Really do appreciate it. Just give us a moment. We are trying to pick up all those phone calls, and maybe we'll get to connect and get one of you on air. We do love hearing from you. Now, one of the issues that has come up, which you were bringing up, is that UEFA, that they are going to basically, if somebody is enduring racism during a match, if one of the players are enduring it, that they're not allowed walk off the pitch, that it is down to the referee to take control of the game and decide what to do. I'd like to get your thoughts on whether you think that's a good idea. Carl, what do you think?
It's a very difficult question, in my opinion, because I think for a player to endure hostility from the crowd is obviously quite challenging. Players that play in Eastern Europe are probably quite used to it because it's kind of the norm there. But I think a lot of the English black players, would very much struggle to put up with that, and I'm not sure how they're going to reconcile that decision when it comes around to actually playing the games. Yeah,
there has been very passionate debate. Mario Balotelli, as I mentioned earlier, says he went as far as to say he would kill somebody who threw a banana at him at the street, talking about racist chanting, that he would walk off the pitch. Not everyone agrees. Well, UEFA President Michael Platini earlier this week explained to the BBC what powers referees have in the event that they hear racist chanting.
I have 2 years ago changed the rules of the game for the referees, saying that if you have racism problem in the stadium, you can stop 1 minute the game to make an announcement to say we will stop. We can come back to play, and then after to pause to stop, they can finish the game. They have this power now, the referees, in case of racism.
Well, Henk Spaan, you just heard Michael Platini there. What do you think of the referee having the power to decide when chants are so racist that the game should be stopped?
Yeah, I think the referee should have the power. I hope he will follow up the directions of UEFA, but I think UEFA should have been more severe, more outspoken before the tournament starts about this issue.
Now, one thing that did come up is that they said a different crowd would come to Euro 2012, that in fact the league games were no indication of what would happen during this particular tournament. But as we've seen this week, there have been charges of racism coming from Dutch members of the football team at people that were watching their training session. And Carl, I'd like to come back to you. How do you see it? Or excuse me, not Carl, Marek. How do you see it?
I see it very much the same. I think the league fans, or at least the minority of league fans who do partake in racism don't represent the football stands that are in Poland. In fact, I'm pretty sure the Dutch players had their training in Krakow, which isn't a host city, and most of the fans there were probably local fans of the clubs Wisła or Cracovia. I don't see, so I can't see it being a really representative of what Polish fans or other fans are going to be like.
Well, I'd like to hear from you. If you are listening, do get in touch. Maybe you're in Poland or maybe in the Ukraine. Maybe you travelled there or maybe you decided to boycott it. Do give us a call. The number is on your screen right now. Let's hear from Simon in the UK who emailed us. He said, I have felt more uncomfortable walking past some pubs around the Emirates, he's talking about the stadium in London, and other grounds on a Saturday afternoon than walking away from a game in Kiev. Well, that's just one opinion. Hankspan, can you understand that? Is this just something to do with football in general, that it's not specific to Ukraine or Poland?
Well, in Eastern Europe, the racism is still going on in the stands. I think only 15 or 20 years ago it was very common in England also, and in Germany also. It has been a long time that there was racist chants from the stands, but in England and Germany they have banned it out now. And so I think in Eastern Europe it's just, it's a matter of time, probably, hopefully, that it will stop there also. But at the moment it's certainly there.
It's interesting. UEFA says they did award it to those host countries to try and shine a light on a problem and perhaps improve on it. So that's still up for debate, though. Stay with us here on World Have Your Say. More of your thoughts on Euro 2012 to come. Well, let's talk to Ben James on the World Have Your Say team over in Bush House. What are you hearing, Ben?
Well, Nuala, you can just see the number of people calling in at the moment. Hugo, my colleague, is on the phone to Spartacus in Greece at the moment. I can see calls from Pakistan, Gambia and Spain coming in right now as well. Some of the comments we've had, a lot of people talking about potential solutions to this. David in Ghana called to say they should ban the racist fans from the stadium. Agnes in Luxembourg phoned to say they should get the police involved and the players should boycott games where it happens. Barry got in touch with us on Skype from Nicaragua though too. He says, I think the issue of racism in football is being promoted by the news coverage on TV. Let the players concentrate on playing. Come on, BBC, Barry says. You know you are beyond this piffle. Well, that's his opinion. Thanks very much indeed for getting in touch and please continue to do so.
Indeed, you should. Keep Ben and the rest of the team busy there at Bush House. Do keep calling us and we'll keep reading your comments. Well, Hankspan is a football writer and editor. He is joining us. We also have Marek, who's an Anglo-Pole living in Warsaw. He joins us on Skype. And we also have Carl, who is joining us. You're all very welcome to the conversation. A lot of issues being brought up, everything from whether the games should be boycotted to whether the governments of these countries should take a stronger stand. Well, Hankspan, let me go back to you. What was the reaction in the Netherlands when members of the Dutch team said that they had had to endure racist chanting during training sessions there?
The reactions weren't, there was not much reaction. One of the players...
That surprises me, Hankspan. Does it not surprise you?
No, because we are waiting for the tournament to start, and this was a training session. The coaching staff made a decision to move the players to the other side of the field. After the training, I think this morning or yesterday, Ibrahim Afellay, he reacted. One of the players was a Moroccan, second-generation Moroccan. He said, "You have crazies everywhere," and this was, I think, the only player reaction that we heard.
But it is the 21st century. Is this something that players should expect that they have to endure?
No, they should never have to expect it, but when it's during a training, I think that when it's on a grand scale during the match, then the players should be very angry. And I think really if the referee doesn't react, the coach or the players should react themselves by, for instance, leaving the pitch, all 12 or 11 of them.
But of course, what they're saying is that they're going to be booked if they do such a thing. I mean, it's difficult. I mean, there's a lot of challenges to refs, not about racism, about other stuff, and there's two different takes on what the ref heard or what he saw. Can we really depend on a referee in this sort of instance?
Yeah, you have to hope so, and I think that they will be. Let's hope they have given directions by the UEFA. But if it's on a grand scale, if 10, 15,000 people would chant abusive things, then they should leave the pitch themselves and say goodbye to UEFA. But I don't think really that it will be on that scale. It will be minorities who will use the UEFA Championship to do their foul things, and I don't think and I don't hope that it will be thousands of people.
Well, I know a lot of people are very excited, getting ready for it. Of course, it's just not that far away. We've only just a little over half an hour before it all does kick off. People even that aren't always ardent football fans do get excited about Euro 2012. You are all talking about it all around the world and getting in touch, giving us a call on our number and also tweeting using the hashtag WHYS. Thanks so much for getting in touch. Now, Anton Shekostov is an expert in far-right groups in the Ukraine. Anton, you're very welcome to the programme.
Hello.
Now, I'd love to hear your take on how widespread are these groups that we're hearing about?
Well, I would say that we should distinguish two things. First is general racism, like on the everyday level of the Ukrainian society, and organized or more or less organized groups in Ukraine. I would say that racist prejudices are quite widespread in Ukraine. But they do not necessarily translate into violence or even into racist abuse. For example, Ukraine became independent in 1999, but no extreme right party has ever managed to get into the parliament because they don't have enough votes from the people. At the same time, the far right are growing and now in Ukraine, but we can talk about a Svoboda party, which is gaining support in the western part of Ukraine. But there are also smaller groups like social movements. First of all, the Patriot of Ukraine, the Social National Assembly, pro-Russian ultra-nationalist Cossacks, which are which are located in eastern parts and southern parts of Ukraine. But these are small groups, though, and I don't think they really pose a threat to Euro 2012.
So, for example, if we get back to former English captain Sol Campbell, who was advising non-white fans to not travel to the game, do you think that was an overreaction?
That was definitely a overreaction and exaggeration of facts. We don't have, in Ukraine, we don't have large-scale racist violence or hate crime. Like, for example, the last time we had a fatal incident in Ukraine, one woman of Roma origin was stabbed to death. That was 2 years ago.
Well,
so,
how do you explain, and I'd just love to hear your thoughts because this is something that you study, with this BBC Panorama documentary that aired, Stadiums of Hate. I'm mentioning it because a lot of you will be seeing just some images from it from your screen, on your screen, that of violence against people that were non-white and also towards some Nazi salutes that were happening in the stadium. It seemed quite, what would I say, that there was thousands of people doing it at any one time and quite widespread. But do you think that's not a fair representation?
It's not a fair representation at all, because during BBC Panorama, no normal Ukrainian person was shown. All the characters in this program were, racist or a lying policeman, etc. They didn't mention any non-racist anti-fascist groups in Ukraine, which exist. They may be small, they may be not really influential as for example in Poland, but they exist, and they didn't mention them at all. And if we look at the BBC Panorama again, and look closely to the hundreds of people allegedly giving an artist salute. Not all of them are doing that. Some of them are just showing two fingers, which is not abusive in Ukraine, towards the football players. They're like directing them, showing them direction where to run with the ball.
Well, there was some people that didn't believe that, but I'm just trying to put out all the opinions because we have been chatting about this for the past couple of weeks because there's been so much interest on it. But Carl, I know you wanted to respond.
Yeah. I've got some experience about going to Eastern Europe to watch football games, and that kind of salute that you see in the stadiums isn't actually a Nazi or right-wing led gesture. It's literally just to shout at the other fans, and it's just a way that they kind of use to get the atmosphere going. The way that it was portrayed in the Panorama programme was completely misrepresented in my opinion. Because you see that all over Eastern Europe, and it's not a racially motivated thing, it's just the way that they kind of get themselves going.
So I am hearing quite a bit of compassion and sympathy towards Ukraine and Poland. Australia, Germany and Mali have been getting in touch with us. Thanks for all your calls there. Do keep calling. Now, Marek, you're still there with us. What would you like to respond to what you've heard so far?
I think the previous speakers have been correct in saying that it is a problem and it does exist, but I think it's been, first of all, over-exaggerated, and really I'm afraid it's going to overshadow the whole tournament, which really which is really unfair on both countries, which have tried so hard to organise it. We've spent a lot of money on trying to improve the infrastructure and trying to make this tournament as welcoming, as great for all football fans, no matter where you come from, for in this tournament.
Let's get another comment coming in from Gabriel in Jamaica. She wrote on the World Have Your Say Facebook page, hopefully something good will come out of this decision to use Poland and Ukraine. Hopefully the racist will see how the civilized world sees them and perhaps be moved to change. Now, Gabriel is echoing what UEFA said. Now, do you think that that is something that could possibly happen, Marek?
Yeah, I think that's exactly right. This tournament, as I think Platini said, is to, first of all, shine a light on a problem if it does exist. Saying that they shouldn't organise a tournament here is wrong, not just because it's unfair on Poland and Ukraine, but also if there is a problem in racism, the best way to combat it is to flood the countries with football fans from all over Europe and let so racists actually feel as isolated as possible. Because what I think most fans from Europe will find a lot of warm welcome from the Poles.
A lot of warm welcome from Poles, and I have heard, and I should say this to put both sides across, that also a lot of warm welcomes from Ukrainians. Well, whatever you think, we do hope you'll get in touch. Use the hashtag WHYS. Bartek did, age 13, Skyped us from the UK. I'm Polish. There are lots of good things about Poland. Poland is a good country. At my school, people talk about Poland being a racist country, but it's just not true. Naomi on Twitter, what can they do other than avoid confrontation, report it and condemn it? Lots of views coming in on World Have Your Say. You can go to facebook.com/World Have Your Say. We'd love to hear your comments there. Or as I said, use Twitter and tweet WHYS hashtag. Nikolai Grammatikov is the Secretary General of the Players Association of Russia, and he joins us from our studio in Moscow. Nikolai, you're very welcome to the programme.
Thank you.
Are you looking forward to Euro 2012, and do you think that racism overshadows it?
Listen, racism, of course, is a problem today, and to be honest, it's not a big surprise. We have to acknowledge and we have to say it openly that very unfortunately the federations did very little really to tackle this problem. And also we think that it's responsibility of UEFA as a governing body in European football really to pay attention to this. And it's a pity, you know, football is a festivity. It's a joy for everybody, for the fans, for the players, of course. And we should not give a chance to the people that have very low level of general culture to spoil it.
Well, we have Marek with us and also Carl and Anton. And you bring up a really interesting point, this kind of balance between the joy and whether there might be some shadows from racism in this run-up to the first match that is happening in less than 30 minutes, as I mentioned. Carl, you're heading to the Ukraine next week. What would you like to respond?
I think it's wrong to preempt the tournament with all this talk of potential racism. I think we're getting in danger of overshadowing the whole thing and kind of expecting problems where we might actually just be barking up the wrong tree. I think we're better off just waiting to see what happens and confronting the issues as and when they arise, rather than discussing it, and kind of playing it out over the media.
Well, Nikolai, what do you think? Do you think there was some complaints that UEFA had awarded this tournament to both Ukraine and Poland, saying that their record was not fantastic? Some people pointed to racism, others to infrastructure. How do you see it?
Well, let's look at it this way. UEFA made a good decision, in my view, to give it to the countries that need the development of the infrastructure. But when we're talking about infrastructure, we think about stadiums, we think about hotels, airports. This is fine, but more important is the attitude of the people that live in this country. And when, I'm an expert in the players' right, I can tell you very unfortunately the players' right in both countries, in Ukraine and in Poland, are not very well protected and are not really respected if we compare it to the West European countries. Of course, approaching this problem and saying, listen, we give a chance to the country to develop the industry is a nice gesture. Thank you very much to UEFA. However, what we need is to supervise how this task of conducting the European Championship will be fulfilled. And I think there was a big mistake by giving too much attention to the construction sites and not to the behavior of the fans.
Well, it's quite interesting. This, of course, the first week, the first test, we could even call it. The Dutch players did say that they had to, there was racist chants made at them during training this week. The Dutch FA did not lodge a formal complaint. We've been chatting about that. Some people think they should have, and that UEFA should have responded. Well, let's hear from Dejamras. Now, he wrote on the Daily Mail website, and here's what he had to say. The media obsession with evil Ukraine and Poland is pathetic. Minor accidents are blown out of proportion. The whole country is described as racist and criminal. Nothing is positive. It's sad. So I don't know whether Dejamras would call this particular instance with the Dutch players minor or not. But Nikolai, what would you respond to that comment?
Listen, to be the victim of the racist abuse is disgusting. I've spoken to many players, and they say, listen, what shall we do when we see that there is a monkey chanting, when we see banana that are thrown at us? They say, should we leave the pitch or should we continue? And this is, there is no solution because, of course, as a person, they are very emotional. And the players are saying, listen, of course, we want to bring, as I said before, joy and happiness to the people, to see them united for the good of the game. But frankly, there is a very little work that has been done again with regards to the behavior of the fans. It should not be responsibility of one country. It should be really responsibility of the governing body of football, and in this case, particularly, it's FIFA.
You feel that UEFA, you feel that they did not do it. Well, Farouk called us on Skype from Bangladesh. I'm excited. I'm coming to Europe to support the England team. It's my second favourite team. Doesn't say who his first is. Well, let's chat with Mariam. Mariam is joining us from Poland today. You're very welcome to the programme, Mariam.
Hi, I'm actually calling you from Prague, not from Poland.
Oh, excuse me. I have my little notes wrong there. But you're blessed among men during this programme today, and you are very welcome. Let's hear how you see this particular idea of racism overshadowing Euro 2012.
I think that if you go and look for racism, then you will find it anywhere. It doesn't have to be only in Poland and Ukraine. You will find it in Spain, in England, in pretty much everywhere. And I think the BBC Panorama program was eye-opening, but they went to look for racism, so they found it. They went to the biggest derbies, they went to the biggest games, and you are going to find it. And I think that it was slightly unfair in the fact that there are so many. I live in Prague, which is right next to Poland, and I know so many Poles and Ukrainians, and they're honest, decent people who just love the game. And it's really unfortunate that because of this really loud minority, the entire sort of countries, these two countries, are being painted black. However, it is good in one point in that I think Ukraine and Poland will now have lots to prove, because especially Ukraine, they're trying to get into the EU. They will try to disprove all of these stereotypes about the racism, and I think they'll do all they can. Unfortunately, so does UEFA, and we all know that UEFA is absolutely useless at trying to deal with racism claims. And I think that if Poland and Ukraine aren't doing anything, then UEFA has to. And although I don't think that these incidents will completely overshadow the whole football spirit that is Euro 2012, they will have a small unfortunate taint, and it's up to UEFA to sort of deal with this effectively, and up to Ukraine and Poland to do it. So I hope that they will do everything they can, because it's ridiculous.
Well, thank you for those comments, Mariam. And if you, while you were listening to Mariam there, you were seeing some images from the Panorama BBC documentary, which took a look at racism in Poland and the Ukraine, which also, of course, brought this outpouring of emotion. So many of you are getting in touch. But, you know, this is a discussion that has been going on for years in football. It's not just with Euro 2012, though we are taking a look at that today. Isiome Eziale from Nigeria just posted on our Facebook page, it's inevitable that there's going to be racist incidents during Euro 2012. Eastern Europe is still a long way behind the West in terms of relationships with other races, but boycotting the tournament will serve no positive purpose. Well, we can chat about that in a moment, but I would like to talk about another man's comments. That's Saul Campbell on black and Asian people that are visiting the Euro 2012. He said, stay at home, watch it on TV, don't even risk it, because you could end up coming back in a coffin. Now, they are incredibly strong words, and I know some of the pictures that you were seeing there were also incredibly violent. Nikolai, what would you respond?
Listen, the question of the security, of course, is a primary issue for UEFA and the Poland and Ukraine. I know that the police will take care as much as they can, but frankly, this is a question of the civil society. Do we have a proper justice system in this country? Do we have good police forces? Especially with regards to Ukraine, there could be some doubts. So I wouldn't be so radical as Saul Campbell and say, be very careful, don't go there. I would put it differently. Be very careful while you are in the Euro. So really try to find the right ways, right people, and you know, you are never too careful when you're in these countries.
I know they are planning on having inclusivity zones that will be for non-white fans that are visiting, which does sound in a way that if there has to be inclusivity zones, that there may be a problem. But it is a really interesting issue that both you and Mariam are bringing up, this issue of who to blame. Is it UEFA? Is it the police? Is it the football clubs themselves? Do they need to take the responsibility? Or is it civil society and the fans? Carl, what would you respond?
I just wanted to comment on your report there about inclusivity zones. I think that's an absolute joke that they're going to try and ghettoise fans into different segments, and that's only going to kind of aggravate matters. I'm not sure if that's actually been confirmed, but I think that's unbelievable that they've even considering doing that.
Well, stay with us here on World Have Your Say. We're going to continue our conversation on Euro 2012. You are very welcome to World Have Your Say. We are talking about Euro 2012, the football tournament that has been hosted by Ukraine and Poland. But one of the questions that you've been chatting about online is whether racism is overshadowing this championship. We have a number of people that are with us here. We have Nikolai Gramatikov. He is the Secretary General of the Players Association of Russia. He joins us from Moscow today. Karl is British. He is heading off to the Ukraine very soon. And Mariam is in Prague in the Czech Republic today. You're all very welcome to the programme. I see that France, Mauritania and Spain are getting in touch on the phones. You can keep calling, keep our gang over in Bush House busy and let them know your thoughts. Maybe we'll get you on air, or they can at least send your comment over and we can put it to our guests here. You can also get on Twitter using that old hashtag WHYS. Now, let's chat a little bit about what's going to be happening in the next, let me see, what do we have? About 15 minutes before it all kicks off, which is exciting. We've been talking about some of the racism and some of the issues. Some of you are saying that it's been overblown, other people saying that it needs to be addressed. But Karl, what are you very much looking forward to in the coming weeks?
I've been to a number of tournaments and seen England in the past. Been to Germany 2006, South Africa 2010, and you always get a welcome from the locals, and it's a great chance to mix with all the local people, get involved in the local culture, and also just kind of get stuck in with all the other fans and have a good time. And it's a great chance to party, really.
Well, one man who is there and he can give us the party report and everything else as well. That's the BBC's Alex Capstick. You're very welcome to the programme, Alex. You're in Warsaw at the moment, I hear. Can you describe the mood there today?
Well, I've been in the fan zone all morning and for most of the afternoon. I'm now at the stadium for the opening match, but there was a great atmosphere. There's a huge fan zone right in the centre of Warsaw, and for those that don't know, fan zones appear in most of these tournaments now, and it is an area that's sealed off, and inside are bars, food stalls and giant screens. We've had rock music, pop music, a bit of jazz to entertain all the fans that were there this morning, and lots of them, mainly Poles, dressed in the red and white of the national colours, enjoying the atmosphere, certainly enjoying the drinks that were available, and having a good time, having a party ahead of this game. Remember, this is the biggest sporting event ever staged in Poland or Ukraine. The Euros have come to Eastern Europe for the first time since the Berlin Wall came down, so it's a big occasion, and they're very proud that they've been able to put this tournament on and get things ready on time here.
Well, you bring up that issue of pride. We've been having a conversation about shadows of racism over this tournament, particularly with members of the Dutch team that had to endure racist chanting during their training session this week. Is that part of the conversations there?
Yes, it is, and it's just what UEFA, European football's governing body who organised this event, it's just what they didn't want for the issue of racism to rear its head right on the eve of their flagship event. Lots of talk about it beforehand. There was a television documentary which showed football-related violence and racism. Images flashed across TV screens across the globe. And then this incident at the Dutch training camp, when it seems that a minority of fans who were allowed in to watch the training session racially abused some of the Dutch players. The captain, Mark van Bommel, took them to the opposite side of the pitch. The Dutch have since played it down because there was some political chanting as well going on amongst the crowd. They're angry that there are no games taking place in Krakow where this training session took place. They're not going to make a formal complaint, but they will be prepared to talk to UEFA. And UEFA have confirmed that there were isolated instances, they said, of racist chanting during this training session.
Well, Alex, I just have one quick question for you. We were chatting about inclusivity zones previously that Sol Campbell had mentioned, the former England captain, when he was advising people who are not black, or that were not white, excuse me, to travel to Euro 2012. Is that fan zone that you're talking about, is that one of those inclusivity zones? Do you know?
It's a fan zone for everybody that wants to, every fan, anybody that comes to Warsaw, and there are fan zones in all of the host cities. It's for everyone. They're free. They can go in. Obviously, they have to buy the beer and the food that's available to them, but all the entertainment is free of charge, and it is for absolutely everyone, whichever country you support, whatever colour you are, wherever you're from, and they are there designed for a party. And certainly that was the atmosphere. It was a celebration earlier today in the centre of Warsaw.
Well, I am very glad to hear that there's celebrations. Go and enjoy yourself, Alex. We'll be listening and watching your reporting, of course, over the coming days. Well, lots of people getting in touch. Peter from Ghana posting on Facebook, I think the players should be protected and that people guilty of racism should be arrested and the teams should be fined. India, Germany, Australia, another few of the countries getting in touch. And there are, of course, people in Warsaw now streaming into the stadium. Look at those crowds there. Haven't seen crowds like that since the Diamond Jubilee just a couple of days ago. But of course there is a lot of celebration. We do hope that it all goes off very well. Ewa in Poland posting on Facebook, I believe you're missing the point completely. Racism in Poland is hardly as noticeable as it is in some Western countries. The incidents that may occur are due to the citizens' frustration with the government. Well, that is, of course, a totally different take on why these things are happening. We do hope you'll keep posting. It's facebook.com/World Have Your Say. And I want to thank all our guests that took part today. And hey, I think it's time to watch the football. Don't know who you're rooting for. I hope your team wins. I'm Nuala McGovern. You've been watching World Have Your Say.